Let's now have a look at Marx and new Marxist influences of social theory in relation to critical discourse analysis. And we'll see how these influences have shaped critical discourse analysis, especially after 1970s. The kind of social turmoil world faced in 1960s and 70s as a result of a kind of struggle between two larger socioeconomic theories of the world, in which Marxism was one, and there we have a Western capitalism as other theory. It was quite natural that many people, even in the West, would have been influenced by Marx and his views. Therefore, we can see that certain important influences and the people who worked under this influence in studies related to critical discourse analysis or critical linguistics. Many authors are thus fundamentally skeptical about the use of capitalism as a manner of organizing social relations, because they thought the capitalism, as it has been perceived by many capitalist powers, would probably disturb the traditional fabric of social relations. The Marxism is, however, anti-reductionist, their Marxism, one which recognizes the significance of language and culture in and for contemporary capitalist societies. So they would recognize the importance of language and culture also. In general, Marx had a paramount influence by providing a framework for understanding social dynamics in capitalist societies. So Marx's views about how capitalism works in societies and what kind of offshoots it can generate was the basic line for these researchers. However, it has only rather recently that his views on language have been elaborated explicitly, and this has been done by two very dominant researchers in their article Marx as Critical Discourse Analyst by Fairclough and Graham. They summed up some point of views about Marxism and Marx and his views about where language could be probably brought forward to understand the social world. They furthered that language has become ever more central in late capitalism. The role of language in projecting various capitalist thoughts through various means, socio-cultural agencies where language plays an important role, was interesting to note. They also argued that Marx was well aware of the link between language and other dimensions of the social, that is, the dialectics between the discursive and the material dimension of any social life. So, how social life is influenced or influences the dialectics or discourse practices of a society, that was also very important. Drawing on Marx's writing, they also outline a view that ideological relations between language, consciousness, social life, and civil society are important to understand power dynamics in a society, thereby offering a model in order to understand the interplay between the discursive and the extra-discursive, what is related to language and about language, and how various structural factors does affect those factors, or how do they interact with each other to create a certain hegemonic design or certain power relations in the society, where sometimes, or maybe always according to them, the powerful gets the benefit. Other relevant concept in the same domain, we can say Marx or neo-Marxist, can be related to some works in CDS, or for example the works of Woodek, Fairclough, and they refer to Anthony Giddens' theory of structuration in order to make sense of the problem of order in a society, what kind of order prevails in a society. In such order, subjects are not simple bearers of structure, rather they are the player in the reproduction of society in such structures, and are able to reflexively monitor their doing also. So it's not clear subjugation, but there was some kind of you might say independence or freedom available to subjects who are working under such immense pressure of the structure also. Althusser's structuration of structuralism has led Fairclough to draw on Gramsci's notion of struggle also. Gramsci views language as historical and something which permeates all social relations. It plays a key role in the development of social relations. Gramsci's notion of hegemony is the most relevant concept taken up in critical discourse studies throughout the history of critical discourse studies. Gramsci's notion of a hegemony has been very important, in which domination is based on subject's consent rather than some kind of physical or material coercion. People themselves accept the domination of a certain structural factor, organization, state, and that state apparatus or any similar thing doesn't have to actually coerce physically. People do not have to put them into jails or beat them up for that. They themselves acknowledge it because they have been ideologically framed in such a way that people do accept it. They are spread through private organizations, for example, church, trade unions, schools, syllabus, books, etc., instead of some domination through sheer coercion, violent revolution, or capturing the state apparatus. Critical theory of the Frankfurt School has also been a dominant influence on some authors in critical discourse studies. It also focuses on the consciousness of the significance of culture and the commodification of culture. How culture has been recently commodified by the powerful nations and how it has become a product that has been very important and has been a significant part of recent capitalism also. The use of Habermas and the concept of validity claims based on truth, rightness, and truthfulness have always been important in critical discourse studies also. There can be other influences which could have deep impact on the development of critical discourse studies also.